Hi everyone in English 1301, it's Dr. E and I'm here with your week 11 instructional video. I can't believe it's week 11 already. So hopefully you've still got some energy, push forward, we're so close to the finish line. Let's go ahead and go to our content area to see what we have in store for us this week. So I do in our week 11 content module, I've put some changes here just because originally in our schedule we were submitting our portfolios this week, and it's just, I am going to be honest, it's taking me a long time to go through and provide feedback. I want to make sure I'm taking my time with it. So I didn't want to say, oh, I'll have your feedback to you by Wednesday at noon, and then you had to work on those last round of revisions. I wanted you to have more time. So what I'm going to do is I will open the assignment area if you'd like to submit your portfolio, if you happen to have both sets of feedback, right, from your first written response and then the ones I'm working on right now. Because I know some of you plan your weeks according to what major assignments are due, and maybe next week in a different course or other areas of your life, things are really hectic and busy and you just want to get that portfolio submitted. That's great. Just make sure you're waiting to see my feedback from that second response that I'm continuing to work on. And what I always say is, there's nothing stopping you from starting your revisions now, right? You have the feedback from your first written response. I'm working on the second, but you can go through and start making your own revisions and then just do the final round when you see that feedback from me. So get some of that work out of the way, right? Why not do some of that now? Especially because, as you'll see, we have a pretty easygoing week compared to some of the others because I've updated and moved around the schedule a little bit. So I put here, you were originally going to have time to work on revising and editing your portfolio. You still have that. It's just due in 2 weeks. And because I didn't originally assign reading, I just didn't feel comfortable adding a reading. That didn't seem very fair, especially for those of you who may have worked ahead and, or you constantly function by working ahead. I didn't want to throw something like that at you. So you're watching the instructional video. I also want you to take some time to walk through and watch that multimedia project video so you can start thinking and planning for that assignment. And that's actually going to be what your post is about, so keep that in mind. We're having small group discussions, and then that bonus credit assignment, the second opportunity, is available. So I'm just going to scroll down. You're watching what will appear as number 1. Here is a link to the project and guidelines, which are covered also in the video. And if you go to the week 11 discussion, we're not necessarily working in our coalitions, we're working in just kind of small discussion groups. I want you to think about the multimedia project assignment. So I want you to explore and share ideas. Often with this assignment, students are creating their work in a vacuum, right? They're on their own, they're individual, they're kind of isolated perhaps from what everybody else is doing. And sometimes it can just be helpful to share ideas, see what other folks are thinking about, because that may spark something, in terms of your own ideas. So I want you to write 2 full paragraphs that considers a plan and idea you would like to explore, right? So it does not mean, so what you write about this week, you may have some really great idea that you want to create in relation to Finley's video or Choi's article. And it sounds really great this week, but then when it comes time to start actually planning out your project, submitting that multimedia project plan, maybe things change a little bit. That's okay. This is meant to be kind of a brainstorming situation where if you take all those ideas and throw them out and start fresh next time, that's okay, but it at least is getting the ball rolling with some of that. All right. So often what I put it, students struggle a lot with kind of narrowing their focus. What is a place to start? Because there are just so many options, right? So I really want you to think about, what is that one text, that author, that video, that podcast episode that really made the biggest impact to you? What was the most interesting, or what really, that week you had to write something and it was just really easy to write about because you were invested and you were interested, right? So think back through all those things we've read, watched, listened to throughout the semester. So, think about whose ideas did you appreciate? What was the interesting idea or point? Consider anything from the semester. I put here, too often in academic writing, we don't have a choice about the topic, right? That's, I think, probably the #1 complaint I get from students is, it's easier for me to write when I actually care about the topic. Completely understand. But a lot of times with academic writing, we just don't have a choice. here is your choice, right? Your project is your choice. What you're writing about this week is your choice, but we have to kind of narrow it down because it can be overwhelming to have that much, choice to make. So if you have more than one idea, that's fine. You can share that in the 2 paragraphs, but we just need one to get the ball rolling. And I put, it's important always when we're engaging with one another, we're responding to one another's posts. But this week, I think it's extra helpful because you can provide feedback, help, direction, ideas. More of this as we begin the planning phase. And if you see someone in your smaller group and you notice that their idea may not work as well as they thought, or it may not maybe meet the requirements in some way, that's where we're here to help one another. We're not judging one another. We're not providing responses that are judgmental or harsh or anything. We are providing feedback that's just, hey, have you thought about this? This may be a difficult part, or hey, don't forget that this is a requirement. So remember, you need 3 to 4 sentences when you're responding to one another. So really take the time to read through their ideas and think about them. Okay. The only requirement for these 2, I'm going to have to reword this. This is terrible writing. I'm so sorry. This is the review phase, apparently. The only part of the requirement for these paragraphs is that you're going to bring in at least one quote from one text. I'm sorry, text. I'm going to pause. Just take a second. Whew. In those paragraphs where you are kind of outlining a potential idea for your project, you're bringing in a quote in each from the source that you're using. So whether it's Troy's article or Finley's TED Talk or Cass's TED, anything that we've covered this semester, just make sure that you're bringing in quotes to support kind of your direction in both of those paragraphs. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully when I revise that part of the assignment, it will help. Okay, so going back to week 11, you have the bonus credit assignment. Notice that you don't have a quiz this week, right? Because you don't have reading. It just didn't seem fair, again, to add that. So if you go to the bonus credit assignment link, again, you have a fairly light week. So if you want to jump in and get this out of the way, that'd be great, because again, things may start to heat up in your classes because we're getting towards the end of the semester and the holiday and all of that. So maybe take advantage of the, I don't want to say free time or extra time that this week in our classes, but maybe the lowered amount of stress related to this class this week. All right. So this is similar to the previous credit assignment for those of you who ventured into that. You're going to listen to one of the 2 podcasts. So we have an episode of the Black Girls Eating podcast or Take a Bow. They're both really interesting. And you're just going to write about them. So make sure you're taking some time to read through this. These are really the only opportunities for extra credit. So I really encourage you to take advantage of this, because you don't want to get to the end of the semester and think, oh, if I had just done more, if I had just done that bonus assignment, I may have gotten a higher letter grade, or I may have gotten that 0.5 points to get to that letter grade, because I don't round up grades, because there are these opportunities. So just take advantage while you can. But that is also why I'm leaving this assignment open for a couple of weeks, so that if this week's not good for you, maybe you can get it done next week. All right, if you have any questions, go ahead and post in that Q&A discussion area. It's so helpful when you do that, because other folks can see and maybe get answers to their own questions. But you can always contact me directly via email, or make an appointment so we can chat via the office hours and WebEx. So good luck this week.